Hard to say when it started. I graduated college a year ago now. Moved to a new city far from home, started trying to do the whole grad school thing by myself. It was a lot at first, but after almost a year in, I felt like I was getting it all figured out. After my first few weeks here, though, I started feeling really off, and I don't mean mentally. I had headaches, chest pains, nausea, the whole deal. At the time, I was scheduling doctor's appointments to figure it out. I know now it was a precursor of my new condition. I was undergoing some kind of change that I didn't understand. At some point in the last 2 months, my body decided to fall apart. The first to go were my molars. You know that powdery taste that fills your mouth when the dentist drills into your teeth? That was on my tongue for 3 weeks. I was absent-mindedly smacking my lips for a month, trying to abate the calcium's tang, completely oblivious to what was coming. It was annoying, but didn't seem dangerous at the time. I figured I could schedule another checkup once my new job's health insurance kicked in. That plan went out the window when I woke up and felt soggy clumps of teeth sloughing into the back of my half-awake throat. I shot upright, gagging and spitting. My tongue desperately felt along my teeth for the cause and stopped once it reached the right first and second molars. There was still material there, but it wasn't bone. The closest thing I can think of to describe it is a sandcastle at high tide. There was a shape, some structure, but with every second I could feel grains of myself slipping away to be digested by my own saliva. I wasn't scared yet, just confused. I was in shock, my brain refusing to put together what was happening. The fear came when I realized I couldn't feel it. Parts of my teeth were separating from the root, and I can't feel it at all. My fingers dug into my mouth before I could tell them to, clawing for some kind of information. The only thing that came was a delicate squish, marrow spreading over my hand like warm butter. Naturally, I screamed. I screamed for a while. It took my voice giving out for me to even remember I could move. I thought of my bathroom mirror. If I could just see what I was feeling, maybe I could figure out a normal explanation. I threw myself out of bed, but didn't find the solid footing of a functional step. Instead, my calf sunk into my ankle with a muted crunch. I barely had time to register my heel's liquidation before I hit the ground. My head bounced off the floor, more sticky resin seeping from my mouth into the carpet. My eyes instinctively moved to see what had happened. My left foot was mangled. It looked like the bones of my heel had vanished, leaving nothing to stop the shin from sliding into its position. Despite the damage, my toes could still wiggle. I could feel them just as I had my entire life. Moreover, just like with my teeth, pain wouldn't come. My head throbbed from the impact of the fall, but the foot felt perfectly fine. I leaned on my bed and began to lift myself up, being careful not to put any weight on my left side. I managed to find my balance and attempted to limp toward the bathroom. I was surprised to find the foot could still support my weight if I was on my toes, but walking flat felt, I don't know. Incorrect? Half sturdy limb and half waterbed, I guess. With each step, I felt whatever was left of my tarsal sloshing through whatever was left of the muscle, creeping into the structurally sound portions of my body. Finally, I made it to the mirror. If I hadn't shouted my voice apart earlier, I would have surely lost it then. Distracted by my own disintegration, I had completely ignored the lack of sensation in my right ear. While it remained firmly attached, the shape of it draped down the side of my face. I hesitantly reached to touch it, and flinched as my fingers sunk into the deflated cartilage. My thoughts were brought back to my teeth. I leaned my head back and pulled my cheek to the side. My gums were slathered with the gritty, whitish substance. I closed my mouth tightly and sucked on my teeth in an attempt to wipe the slime away. I carefully opened up again. I prodded at where the molars had been rooted, and to my horror, the gums caved in as well. I heard it as much as I felt it. A soft, mushy squish. I didn't even have to call an ambulance. The neighbors apparently thought I was being stabbed to death with how loud I was shouting. The officers sped me to the hospital after seeing the state I was in. I spent 6 days in the emergency room. Needless to say, the doctors had the same amount of information I did. Latent genetic disorder was tossed around. I heard cancerous mutation at one point. They couldn't take a blood test because, in their words, my circulatory system had become irregularly located. They took some x-rays, but every time they would come out blurred, as if the machine itself was shaking from what it was looking at. Query after query, guess after clueless guess. They weren't able to help, but thought I was too fascinating to go unstudied. I got shipped from the ER across state lines to some specialty lab. The only possession I got to bring with me was my laptop, which would be nice if I couldn't see them jotting down notes as I typed this. That was 2 weeks ago. At that point, if I have the timeline right, my left pinky, right cheekbone, left leg up to the knee, right leg halfway up the femur, one floating rib, and 11 more of my teeth had gelatinated, as they started calling it. I was already a rotten, wasting thing composed of my own dissolving matter just waiting to pop. I couldn't imagine it getting worse, and yet here I am. Much, much worse. At least I might get a condition named after me. It's hard to describe the state I'm in now. Most of my fingers still work, but the palms, they're affixed to lie flaccid and motionless. Did you know your shoulder blades are the only bones in your body that aren't directly joined to another? They're connected to the shoulder through flexible tendons that can stretch according to the desired movement. That's why it slides across your back freely when you move your arm. That's also why I felt them slip down my ribs. One smashed through my pelvis, which itself was already half gone. 2 days later, the other one clattered across my ribs as it fell, knocking two loose before getting stuck in my right ass cheek and fading completely. Still no pain. Just less mobility. All I'm able to do now is type. Slowly type out what's happening to me. Any day now, my skull will evaporate, or maybe my vertebrae. I'm not a religious man, but when my jaw began to swing, I started praying. I think of 2 prayers when I wake up and repeat them when I go to bed. I invoke whatever creator allowed this to happen to end it as soon as possible. Second, I beg to feel some kind of pain when it happens. Any hint as to what's become of my body.